Hi, I'm Garm1, and this is Midgardia's Cool Crowdfunding Show. I'm here today with Adam. How's it going?
Going well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well myself. You're here to tell us about 12 Realms, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So 12 Realms is an original tabletop role-playing game with its own fantasy setting. It's going to be on Kickstarter really, really soon. I don't know exactly when this video will be published, but um, we should see the Kickstarter in April.
Right on, right on. So what sets 12 Realms apart? Let's start mechanically, I guess.
Yeah, so 12 Realms kind of came about because I was dissatisfied with, well, I'd fallen out of love with games I've played in the past, and I was looking for something new. And so in 2023 and 2024, I just started looking and I read 4 dozen games, and I kind of it started to slowly dawn on me that maybe the game I really, really want isn't out there and I should just make it myself. So that's how 12 Realms kind of got started. One of the things that's always bothered me was in lots of games you have to, before starting a combat, you have to roll initiative. And I always felt like that slowed things way down. You know, you have this dramatic tension build up to this battle, and then it's sort of like then you have to pause to do some light math and bookkeeping.
Yeah,
Um, so I didn't want that in my game, and I also, or at least to revolutionize the way initiative works. And then the other thing I wanted was um, to not have attack rolls and damage rolls separate. I wanted those to be combined because it doesn't really make a lot of sense that you have this information on the die when you roll an 18 or 19 that doesn't translate to anything happening when you roll the damage die. Like you can have a really high attack roll and then a really low damage roll, and you have to go with the damage. So I wanted to combine all that. And the way I figured out to do that, and kind of the mechanical underpinning of all this, is whenever any challenge comes up that you need to roll dice for, everyone picks up their dice and everyone around the table all at once rolls their dice together. Now, hopefully you've got dice trays or your dice have different colors because there might be some mixing, but then you look around the table and you look at everyone's highest roll. So if I'm rolling 2 dice and one of them is a 6 and the other one is a 4, obviously the 6 is my highest roll. But then once you've compared everyone's highest rolls, the lowest highest roll, if that makes sense, the lowest highest roll, um, I've got this 6, but somebody else has a 5, then they would go before me. And then you don't have to like re-roll anything. You've got all the information at your fingertips right there already, because these are also your attack rolls and these are also your damage rolls. All the dice are on the table already, and it's just a matter of like comparing dice to dice and seeing how they resolve each other, because once you start comparing you can see like I'm going to attack the dragon with my dagger. The dragon has scales. That's probably something that it rolled for. um and then I've got my dagger which I rolled for, and then we see which one is higher, and if mine's higher then I get to start doing a little bit of damage toward it, um to the point where you take away the dice that get opposed and challenged and then beaten. Those are discarded until finally that all resolves until only one side's dice are remaining, um and then they win that combat or maybe just that round if you want to, if there's still things left over to resolve. And then you just everyone, if that's the case, everyone picks up their dice again and rolls them all again.
right. So the lowest of the high rolls goes first, so they can eliminate the lowest of the opposing dice, and then you kind of work your way up from there. Is that the idea?
Uh, yeah, a little, yeah, basically. And then I should have said that you can continue your turn until you have no dice remaining if you want to, or you can end your turn early if you see that sort of like, I know that because of the dice on the table, that person is going next. I want them to do that cool thing because then this other thing I'm going to do will complement that. And so you can kind of like be strategic in the way that when you end your turn, or you can just resolve all your dice and then end your turn, and you're kind of done until the next round.
Right, right. So it's not just numbers, numbers to numbers. There's, synergies between character abilities and that kind of thing as well.
Right. You get to decide like, I rolled for my sword. Now where do I want what can I do with this roll? Where can I plant that sword that would have the most effect? You can also burn dice to move. So if you're like too far away, you're like, I've got these dice I can burn, so I'm gonna burn those two so I can get that extra distance to go and do this because it's like it's about the energy you're expending. That's what all those dice represent. You sort of have decisions even after all the dice are on the table about how you want to spend that energy. So.
Right on. That does sound a lot less tedious than the usual initiative mechanics.
I'm glad you think so, because that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to go for that. Less tedious.
Yeah. So is it a class-based system, or in the vein of Those Who Wander, is it more of a step, like choosing abilities as you level up kind of deal?
So it's not class based, but you could have kind of a class progression feel if you wanted to, because it's actually item based. Um, so for example, if I start out with a sword, that's what I'm good at. Let's say I just want to continue with that sword. I'm going to get better and better and better with that sword as I use it. You actually get better at something each time you fail at it. The idea is victory is its own reward, but if you fail, you still get, you learn from that experience. So the more I fail trying to use that sword, the better I'm going to get with it. Um, and then maybe along the way, I decide that I want to pick up magic. Now, magic is something latent that almost anyone can sort of start to explore. So maybe the first time I try to use magic, I have no experience whatsoever with it. So it's not going to work very well. But I'm going to roll that die, whatever it is, and make an attempt. And I'm not going to be good at it, but I'm going to be just a little bit better perhaps the next time. And so my fire magic, which I didn't have previously, can start to grow. So it is item based, or sort of like those natural innate qualities that a person might have and then develop over time. But every die represents something real in the game world. Um, Again, it's like it's that energy that you might be using, whether it's to swing a sword, to conjure fire magic out of your own self, or to move around the battlefield, or whatever. And it doesn't always have to be combat. Like your ability to sow rumors, and get gossip going, that might be a die roll too. And if you're not very good at that, you don't get a lot of bonuses to that die roll. But if you are, then um yeah, then that might be a non-combat situation that would necessitate a die roll that would resolve a lot like combat would.
Yeah, right. Because you learn from what does and doesn't work, regardless of what kind of activity it is.
Yeah, exactly. That you be able to visibly see the other dice really well. They're going to be a little bit bigger than your normal dice. And also the number one on each of the dice will be replaced with an icon that looks like an item. Each die represents an item. So you might see like one is a sword and one is a shield, or one is a flame to represent fire magic or whatever. And then the dice trays will be important. So I wanted to throw those in there too. Oh, and then the cards. One is going to be an item deck, which you can actually there will be a slot on the character sheet. You just put the item card down, and then you can track your progress on the sheet next to the card. And then the other one is going to be kind of the other things, like you're going to get abilities depending on which home world you're from, which what did I said? I was almost gonna say species, but I think I settled on the word people. So which people you're from and those sorts of things. So you'll get sort of more cards, so you can easily assemble a character right there on your character sheet, and then you can see once everything's in place. Oh, and here's the progress. So I can record my progress for my sword right next to the sword card, for my people right next to the people card, stuff like that.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about the setting of the 12 Realms?
Yeah, so the setting is it's going to be written by 12 writers. This sort of dream team I've assembled. I've worked with each of them in the past, and each of them has been, and they're multiple award-winning writers. You've probably seen some of those names in the industry if you've been around. But they've each been assigned one of the realms, and they get to decide what that world looks like. And I guess I should back up a little bit and talk about the setting. So there's this ringed gas giant, and it's got its own system of moons that orbit around it. And the gas giant is close enough to its star that the gas giant, like all those moons, are sort of about as close to ours as Earth is to our sun. So they can all support life. They've got water, they can grow food, all those things. But in other ways, they're very, very different from each other. And each one has sort of sprung up its own people. So, like, the dwarven homeworld is one of them, and the elven homeworld is another. And but but because they're so close together, I mean, they're just orbiting the same planet. There's been a lot of travel between them because, as magic develops, you have gates and you have magical creatures that can fly between them. And so they've had this long history of like knowing about each other and traveling to each other's worlds, and sometimes fighting, sometimes forming alliances, sometimes bearing children. And so, like, there might be some very dwarven looking elves in some on some corner of some world or something like that. Um, and so because of this mixing, they're all also not that different from each other, even though they live on different world and have different adaptations. And so I think it's going to be really fun to see what these writers create. Um, I've been able to like see some of their rough ideas, and I know who's going to write which realm, and I'm very excited to see what they make. And then the exciting part is that where all the adventure comes from is this 13th realm has been captured by the planet's pull, so it wasn't there a generation ago. And the 13th realm is where all the adventuring happens, or the bulk of it, um, because it's, first of all, it's new, and it's completely uninhabited by any sentient people as far as they're aware. Like, but there are all these ruins. It's on land, at the bottom of the ocean, underground, and as the planet sort of, or not the planet, the world sort of heats up, all these monsters start spilling out that have been long dormant or hibernating or something. And so you have to contend with all of that if you want to live on the 13th realm. And so all these people are trying to make sense of, like, there's this new world. What does it mean for us? What do we do with it? Who gets to claim it? Should we all claim it together? And then when they get there, they're like, oh, we need to band together because all of the hostility, all the hostile forces in this world are too much for any one of us alone. So they sort of start to naturally create these adventuring parties that explore the wildernesses in these places and try to figure out, there's going to be a lot of mystery. Who were these people that built these ruins? What happened to them? Where did they go? Are they still around somewhere? What are these monsters? How did they get to be here? And you're going to be like exploring and uncovering these artifacts and magic items that were left by this civilization. And for those who want to, they can unravel this sort of mystery of what is this place and where did these people go. Um, and I think it'll be really cool to see sort of, and so that'll be the bulk of the realms guide. But you're also going to get a little bit, at least a little bit. I'm hoping with some stretch goals, you're going to get a lot more about each of the individual realms as well.
Right on. That is a fantastic setup for an adventuring campaign. Like, you've got the intrigue of a lost civilization. You've got an excellent excuse for why things are slowly unraveling as everything like thaws and comes out of hibernation, all that stuff. Like, that is excellent.
Yeah, you don't have to like meet in a tavern and go to the wanted poster board and try to scrounge up an adventure. It's like built into this setting. Like, of course we're going to go and see what's out there. Like, that's what adventurers do. And of course we're going to protect the people who are vulnerable on the 13th realm. That's what adventurers do. And it's sort of like all right there.
Right on, right on. Yeah, and the I'm looking at the Kickstarter page. The physical version, it looks like two hardcovers and a slipcase and some item cards and a map looking thing. What's the
Yeah,
map?
the map, so the map is going to be a two-sided sort of poster. On one side, you'll see this celestial map, kind of like what you would find in a wizard astronomer's laboratory, where you have all the 12 realms and the ringed planet in the center, and everything's sort of there, and you can sort of imagine what it's like. I'm gonna try to make it beautiful, blue and silver and really lovely. And then the other flip side is going to be one of the main regions of the 13th realm, and with lots of places unexplored that are still sort of dark, but enough of it that you can kind of get your bearings and start organizing adventures. I think that's going to be really fun to have. You mentioned there are two books. I wanted to split it up between the mechanics, if that's all you want, the rules, and then the other one is going to be the Realms Guide if you want to dig into this setting, because I think that's going to be a lot of fun as well. What else? So the dice are going to be different. They're going to be like 25% larger than your average polyhedral die. And that's so that you can clearly see what other people have rolled on the table. That's going to be important. And then the number one on each of the dice will be replaced with an icon. So you'll know if the icon comes up, you rolled a one. But it also is a reminder that this represents a tangible or real thing in the world, even if it's just your innate magic or something. But it could be like a sword or a dagger or a shield or something like that. Um, and then we'll have dice trays to keep everyone's dice contained if you want those. And then finally, those cards are going to be something you can set right on your character sheet. One deck for all the items, and sort of so you can see next to the item card um, how you want to chart your progress, and then and then the other one is about who you are, your innate traits like which homeworld you're from, what your people is, those sorts of things, and those can actually progress over time too. So you should be able to quickly assemble a character just by putting some cards on the character sheet, and then you have options about how to record your progression over time.
Right on. I really appreciate the amount of thought that you've put into every element of this. Like I've seen so many games that are just like, yeah, it's approximately 5e with some serial numbers filed off, and then like a
Oh,
standard,
yeah.
yeah, set of dice. But like even things like making the dice slightly larger because you need to know what everybody else has rolled. Like that's you'll love to see it, you know?
Yeah, I didn't want to include anything that wasn't going to be like an integral part of the game. Like if we're going to include dice, there's got to be a reason to do that. I'm not a dice maker by trade. I write games and edit games. So, but if we're gonna find a dice manufacturer, then we're gonna make sure that these dice really, really work like a part of this game, like it was all intentional. So yeah, and same goes for every other part of this. Except maybe the slipcase. I think you could probably do without that, but it's nice if you have a slipcase for two books, hold them together. So even that, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Love a good slipcase.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's this looks really cool. I know I've said that like 5 times, but yeah, no, it sounds like it sounds like a fun time. I really like the overhauled like the style of combat in it. Lord knows I have done enough, and then I swing my sword at something.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep. So
Uh,
yeah, I think it'll be fun.
yeah,
Fun to make and fun to play.
yeah, for sure. Is there anything else that you'd like to bring up that we haven't touched on yet?
I would just really encourage everyone to go and check out the Kickstarter page. There's a pre-launch page up right now. If you like what you read there, if you've liked what I've talked about in this interview, It really, really helps to be a pre-launch follower, which is just one click. Because that makes me know that helps me know how much interest there is, and it gets people onboarded and excited right away. Um, so that's helpful, and it's also a vote of confidence that you've seen. If you know me, you know my track record. Like I make games for a living. This is pretty much everything I do. And I've been able to deliver on promises I've made in crowdfunders before. Um, so uh, so yeah, just let us know that you like what you see and follow it.
Right on, right on. Yeah, there will be a link to that down in the comment section below. So yeah, go back 12 realms and get yourself some cool dice and some excellent adventures on a new system. And come on, Cannon, you're gonna say goodbye to the camera. And yeah, that's every. Okay,
No, I'm
wait,
not gonna you.
we will not make Cannon wave to the camera today. Well, yeah, that about wraps it up for us. So have a good night, everybody.